Speaker of Jensen is on. Hello, Mike. Hello, Mike.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah. You can hear you, though still slide a little bit. Mike, are you there?
Compared to the other countries. Another point I'd like to emphasize at the beginning is that our experiences from many countries does provide some general lessons and opportunities to improve the environment. And again, every country is unique and they have their own special historical context and specialized aspects in terms of the market and the availability of infrastructure. So I think that should be borne in mind when looking at the policy and regulatory environment, opportunities and possibilities for improving it in Uganda. I think the first point to make is that we really have about 5 different areas when we talk about the policy and regulatory environment. The first one is the national policy framework. This is usually a guiding document, sometimes called a broadband policy or an ICT strategy. But as we find with other areas of policy and regulation, some top-level documents does provide guidance for regulators and the industry and all of the stakeholders to draw on as a way of looking at the issue from the very top, and ideally with the strong support and endorsement of the head of state. So these kinds of policy documents then inform the regulatory environment, and there are really 3 issues there in relation to the regulatory environment. One being licensing in general, in terms of the operator licensing. Then there's the spectrum issue, and this is a particularly important one. And then there are general taxes, as well as universal service funds and universal service obligations. So to look at the top level, for example, looking at the broadband 10 years national broadband strategy, and this is the case in most national strategies that we've found so far. There's very little that focuses on community networks and small local operators. Largely because this is a fairly new emerging area, and does indicate that many of these existing national broadband strategies, ICT plans, frameworks, will need to be updated and adapted to take into account the potential currency of small networks. Here, for example, is encouraging policy document, the South African policy framework for the creation opportunities to inclusion. It's South Africa's broadband policy. In fact, in November 2013, in fact, the recommendation of the minister, as you can see there, is that community networks, cooperatives, and other agencies which can serve underserviced areas need to be encouraged. So that's the kind of general sentiment that we'd like to see coming from the top. And then to go to the licensing framework. Now this varies a lot from one country to another, particularly South Africa, because it has some aspects there that are particularly interesting for community networks. So overall, there are about 3 different licenses that are required. There's an infrastructure license, an individual electronic communications license, and an spectrum license. And these cost for small networks around $800, and then an additional amount that reflects a portion of the revenue generated by the operator. Now, aside from the license cost, I think it's important to notice that in South Africa, which is fairly unique so far, is that there are license exemptions in the regulations, so that if you're a non-profit, a reseller or an ancillary service provider, you're exempted from the ECS license. And if you're a small private network, you're even exempted from the more costly infrastructure license. And again, usage of license exempt spectrum is allowed. This is an area that is still under development. The spectrum one is a complex one, which I'll get back to. Of course, the benefits of the exemption framework is that there are no fees and no requirement to contribute to any funds, and this makes it much easier for these very small remote rural networks with very little disposable funds or available income that could be allocated to these kinds of payments. It makes them a lot more sustainable and viable. It allows them to charge the lowest possible cost of coverage to keep the network sustainable. So then to look at the licensing framework briefly in Uganda, you can see that to actually provide their own infrastructure is quite a high cost. That's the public infrastructure provider of $100,000, and then you have the additional service provider license fees, and even the smaller scale license fee of capacity resale is about $3,000. So these fees can be quite significant if there is no exemption environment. Although I do believe that in some cases exemptions have been given on an ad hoc basis, but it would be nice to see this as a kind of formalized process. The other aspect that I mentioned is in the spectrum fees. So for South Africa, for example, you may well want to purchase some licensed spectrum for your long-distance links where you have problems using the license-exempt band due to congestion, for example, and you want to guarantee your service is more reliable if you have your own spectrum. You can see there that there's a specific area-based fee of $52 a year to invest in 100 square kilometers of coverage. And so Plenary, who have already got the basic infrastructure and communication license you mentioned, they're only at this point campaigning for the spectrum license exemption on these fees as well. They believe their networks are providing a social purpose and are run on a non-profit basis, and therefore should not have to pay any additional fees that would increase the costs to using in those areas. The other aspect of the spectrum which is particularly interesting to us is now the opportunity to access GSM spectrum. One of the networks we've been studying intensively is actually one of our partners in our community network project is the Telecomunicaciones Indígenas Comunitarias of Mexico, where now 18 small-scale community operators serving about 70 municipalities, with about 4,000 users daily, and they've been actually given spectrum from the government, about 4 megahertz, which allows them to provide communications in small and remote areas where no other operators are existing. Now this model we are hoping will be adopted in other countries as well. And the problem is, of course, that the bands are often allocated already to existing community GSM mobile operators. So here, for example, you can see the 900 megahertz band and the 1800 megahertz band allocation in Nigeria and Ghana. And you can see that actually there's very, very little available or zero space in the traditional mobile band. So this would appear that it would be not feasible to issue any spectrum to small community networks. There's one aspect that is not usually considered in this situation, which is that in actual fact, the spectrum is not necessarily used in remote and rural areas. So even with 3G coverage here, this is a map of Ghana. You can see that there are vast areas of the country where there are many people where there is no actual use of the 3G spectrum that has been given to the operator. Similarly, here's a spectrum coverage map of Nigeria's 3G network, and again you can see that probably more than 50% of the country is not actually covered. So that spectrum is not being used in all of those remote and rural areas outside of those more urban centres where the operators are able to gain enough revenue to justify putting up a mark. So what we're advocating for is a use it or share it in the 900 megahertz and in the other mobile bands, where we've done some initial surveys, for example, here in remote rural parts of South Africa, where although the bands are officially fully allocated to the existing all mobile operators, you can see that there are large parts of the spectrum that are actually unused over quite large areas of the country. So we're suggesting that if the mobile operators are unable to provide coverage in these areas and not actually using the frequency in those areas, that they should be required to share that frequency with small community operators located in those areas of no coverage. The other aspect, of course, is to provide experimental licenses so that we can test some of these solutions locally. So, for example, here is the Colombian experimental license in the activities that resulted from the issuing of an experimental license in a rural area, and now they're experimenting with an integrated mobile and Wi-Fi community network deployment, which is gaining a lot of interest in that area. Didn't have any affordable coverage beforehand. As mentioned earlier, television white spaces is another area of the spectrum that we're looking at to be able to ensure that community operators have enough access to the underlying infrastructure to be able to provide effective services. And the TV white spaces use these frequencies that have been traditionally used for television broadcasting. Now the thing is that in rural areas, as you probably well know, there's actually very little use of these frequencies by the digital broadcasters or even the analog broadcasters, and so there's a lot of spectrum that is available, and these bands are particularly important for remote rural areas, especially heavily forested areas, for example, because the signal can travel through obstacles, hills, and trees, so you can actually reach areas that you can't cover with traditional Wi-Fi licensing spectrum. So we're hoping that more regulators around the world will adopt a TV white space framework to allow access to these frequencies and to share the bands with the existing allocated users of them. So here, for example, shows how ideal TV white space is for rural access. You can see the radius of a 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi signal is actually just that small purple dot in the middle, and then the signal can reach a significant extra distance if you're using 2.4 gigahertz, and then you can see there the much greater radius using the lower frequency TV white space signals, which means that one antenna, one mast, can actually reach a much larger area of the population. Here again, for example, is a recent survey showing the occupancy of the TV white space television channels, and as you can see, in most cases, there's hundreds of megahertz of unused spectrum that could be made available for this kind of application. Here we have a map of Africa where we can see that quite a few countries have started to look at developing regulations. They've implemented pilot projects, and in a couple of cases, in South Africa, Mozambique in particular, they have started to actually develop and promulgate the necessary regulations to formalize the use of the spectrum across the country. So, for example, I think probably the most well-reported and most advanced TV white space spectrum regulation framework is the one of the South African regulator, and I would encourage you to take a look at that document to see how these regulations can be quite easily adopted to make use of these white space frequencies. Now, as was mentioned earlier also, particularly important is access to the passive infrastructure and backhaul. In terms of operating costs, in our studies of community networks, we found that Access to backhaul is probably the single largest cost of community networks, and this is really what affected their ability to be as sustainable or not, was the high cost of buying the bandwidth to get back into the internet from wherever they are. And that's also a constraint in terms of coverage. So, of course, if you don't have access to backbones within the nearest 30 or 40 kilometers, the range of a wireless signal, then it will be very difficult to actually set up a service connected to the internet. That's not to say that local services or plant services are not expanding in those areas too, which is a good interim solution to build capacity and make use of technologies. But of course, we already ultimately need access to the internet. So minimizing the cost of the backhaul infrastructure is very important. And this can involve anything from price controls on wholesale monopoly networks that are present in the area to infrastructure sharing and big one policies to minimize the cost of actually laying that infrastructure and making it more economic and give a bigger incentive to backbone infrastructure providers to roll out their networks into more remote areas. Not only does this apply to sharing of fiber optic cables and backbone networks, but the other aspect of infrastructure sharing is particularly important is gaining access to masts. High masts are often needed to bring the signal into the area or to distribute it to the sparsely populated people that may be resident in the community. And so these high masts are probably the single largest capital expenditure component of any community network. If there are high masts in the area already, being able to mount your wireless equipment on these masts can really make the difference between being a viable network and being too costly to have to erect your own mast. So ensuring that there is good infrastructure sharing regulations on all mast access is a particularly important component of ensuring community network viability. And then I think finally we touch on the tax issue. This can significantly increase the cost of operating and the usage of community networks. So again, we would hope that taxes can be minimized. This is not just in terms of luxury taxes on the use of the infrastructure, but also import taxes on the ICT equipment. And as I mentioned earlier, there may be a sector-specific tax such as a percentage of the gross annual revenue of the network, which can again add to the overall operating costs. Then there may be other taxes on social media, for example, or on the use of fiber. And then there may be a tax to pay into Universal Service Fund. Now, obviously, for these networks that are actually trying to build universal service, that's the primary aim, is to provide connectivity on an affordable basis in a remote area. Having to pay into a Universal Service Fund seems to kind of defeat the purpose of it, considering that's what they're doing to start. So if all of these taxes can be minimized, this again increases the potential viability of the network tremendously. Now, just to finish on the plus side, is the potential for universal service funds to actually support community networks. We found in many countries around the world that these universal service funds are accumulating a lot of unspent funds because there are few good projects for the regulators to decide that it's worthwhile to use the funds for. And in general, they've turned to supporting the erection of masts for existing mobile operators. Which, unless there's good infrastructure sharing regulations and those masts can be more generally used as a community network, it really seems to be not a particularly effective way of making sure that community networks can help address the digital inclusion barriers. So if we can have more of these funds actually directed towards supporting community networks themselves, I think it will go a big way towards to increasing the amount of connectivity. So I think that's about it. I don't want to stand too far between you and lunch, but I'm happy to take any questions if you have them. And feel free to email me if you want to get any more information on any of the aspects of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mike. And we started off with a low note, but eventually got in loud and thank our ICT gentlemen for getting your remarks, your presentation, also getting along as you made your presentation. Now, because we are time constrained, because we're moving in 30 minutes into our time, it's also important for our panelists to listen to you, give some feedback, any oversights that are pending. Just share with us new perspectives and addition, and if you think otherwise, of an idea, you share with us. Good, thank you.
Two things to do. Monitoring of the community to ensure community penetration and empowerment should be something that businesses should take more vigorously. Because could be the policy framework will be there, but on the situation on the ground, how does it augur? The policies are there, I'm very sure they are good, well-intentioned, but if you didn't do routine and frequent and consistent monitoring, the policy can be laid to waste. So that's something you need to take up on. Two, the RCDF giving computers to secondary schools. We know the basis, the foundation of all learning, the primary. I think in future we need to come down to primary, because if you want the populace to be computer literate, you really have to go to the bulk of the primary schools in the rural settings. Let your focus be on rural schools, not on government, not on urban schools, because the urban schools are the means. They are socially, economically better off than the counterparts in the rural areas. Thirdly, I like the collaboration that you are fostering between RENU and UCC. I come from the university perspective. We have had a challenge with the conflict between NITA-U and RENU. We know RENU does a very good job for all the universities, but the stumbling block is NITA-U. We have had agreement for our university in 7 months, stories. No, NBI is we are not connected. And they say, you want to do this, make sure RENU is not in the background. We are a government agency. I said, well, we say, RENU is known for its practical approach and what it has done. So you need to rein on NITA-U. All these are complementary strategies to increase penetration. Why would one be a stumbling block, especially the one that is less efficient? The one that is less efficient is NITA-U. So you need to rein on them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That has been good feedback, as you can hear from. We also want to.
The community we are feeding through the post office. Why can't you build your network so that the rural population can get service like in the past? Because the post office box is now there. What is your take on that? And also, beside that one, when you are talking that you wanted to team up with the Bosco, and the Bosco is not giving free service, or if the Bosco is giving free service, why the users cannot give the free service to the community?
Thank you so much. I really love your questions, Mr. Kuhn. Yes.
Thank you very much. I just have one question. That since from this meeting we have realized that we have left the majority of our population unserved. Why can't we use this opportunity and advocate so that since the government is in the planning period and we have the budget for ICT increase, so that in the next year we are able to serve the entire country? Thank you.
observation.
Thank you very much. I would like to know from the Commissioner of UCC what UCC is doing to make the community aware about cybercrime security, because it is in paper, but most of the population doesn't know about the law. Thank you.
Thank you. It means that if you report a case to police, issues of human rights that you talked about, you know. So, any other observation? Please, it's very important that you go away with the right message. If you need any clarity, you will need to make any adjustments, please, this is the time. Okay. So, before I give you back to the ICC, it means after our question and answer session, I would like to give back to Mike first, and then we get back here. Mike, are you there? Okay, Mike, is there any of you, would you like to make your last remark before we call the panel session down?
Sure, I just want to wish you all very good luck, and it's very exciting to see that this kind of a meeting is happening outside of the capital cities, because there is a world of difference between what happens up in the capital and what happens in the rest of the country. And so I think this is an important precedent-setting event to see this happening in Gulu, and I really wish you luck in your deliberations, and I hope you can move the policy and regulatory environment forward for network around the country and enjoy events greater growth and addressing digital inclusion. Thank you.
I'm going to ask Solomon to run over what he has to say in a minute or two, and then I give a chance to my good friend Anno.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for all the questions. I think with the policy regulatory, UCC has been doing a lot, and it's our hope that the recommendation, the framework that Sebastian submitted and APC, we also contributed towards that. But there are others that sometimes you realize that comes in, and I know policies, they are always reviewed after a certain time. And then also, the other thing is we have in our areas of operation, some of the government institutions, for example, schools, we have sub-counties, these are people who are also in need of our services. Sometimes because of the nature of our registration as not-for-profit, we are also tied up not to extend services for them, because we think other telecommunication companies might think that we are infringing or need a use mandate to extend those services. So I think it's also another area that you can go back and discuss, because we have the infrastructures in this area, but because of limitation in terms of, because we are non-for-profit and NGO, we feel that sometimes we can be tied up by those telecommunication companies. And also when there are policies, reviews and discussion, I think it's very important to include stakeholders. That is why the stakeholders approach, I think, is now bringing fruit. The last framework, I think you saw, was different from the previous because of the large coverage of ideas that you got. And also with the Internet Governance Forum that is coming in. I know in Africa there was one. I was part of it in Chad. There is one for East Africa which has just passed. For Uganda, I'm also trying to contact ISOP to see when it will be. So in this kind of avenue, you need to bring all the stakeholders so that some of the clarification, I think you had the question and the concern. Sometimes if you don't come down here, they will not get a chance to speak to you. So there's need for you to always come down and then talk to the people and get their feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate those comments. I'll quickly comment on the questions or some of the comments that have been made. But before that, of course, I would like once again to thank Bosco
for having extended the invitation to us, because just like my colleague has said, these such forums are really very important for us to obtain this feedback that is critical to go into policy formulation to enable our sectors to move. So I really thank you for that invitation. Thank you, Bosco Board Chair, for the comments that you made. Of course, the monitoring bit, like I said, the discussion on community networks is going on, and we believe, this will be intensified in terms of the focus that we put there. So I believe once the license review process ends, there will be something that really looks at that. So we definitely hope we shall keep in touch and have all this feedback sent to you. The primary schools, those are very important. They exist in our strategy, and ideally they are the next phase that we are looking at. Of course, the resource envelope is limited, but they are a priority. And I believe, actually we've already started going to some as public access centers, but we are looking forward towards expanding the footprint or scope like it has been done to the government secondary school. So that is very important feedback. Of course, you also gave feedback on Nitayo and Renu. I'll definitely pass on this feedback, and as stakeholders, definitely we are continuously in discussions to ensure that the quality of service extended to the population improves. So this is something that we can't take lightly, and we'll definitely be discussing it. There was a comment on the post offices. Post offices, just like I said, we are looking at them as public access centers to ensure that communities, are able to utilize them. And for us, we are really looking at the modern ICT, more of the modern ICT facilities, use of the computers and the internet. So we are trying to see how much we can do. Of course, the post offices are very many. We might not cover all of them at one go, but the whole essence is extending these services to the communities, like Bosco is doing in the rural areas. Collaboration with Bosco, I said the key thing that drives RCDF is collaborations and partnerships. We've extended subsidies to telecom operators to upgrade sites 2G to 3G. We've partnered with satellite organizations to put services in hard-to-reach areas where microwave and fiber cannot reach. And I believe, just like I say, an entity like Bosco is a good stakeholder to partner with. So it's good that these discussions are beginning, and we believe that these discussions will continue because we share a lot in common in terms of the work that we are doing. So I've definitely had a discussion with Father Okumu, and I believe we can take on the discussions for possible future collaborations. Community awareness about cybercrime, that is a very key point, and we believe there is quite a lot of work needed to do there. As the Commission, like I said, we have an Industry Affairs Department which deals with consumer awareness. They are trying to do as much as possible to go down to the rural areas and sensitize people about some of these laws. As RCDF, we have programs that we have put in place to go and meet the informal sector, the farmer, the person that is down there in the village, and have discussions about this. But like I said, UCC, RCDF, we can't do it alone. The country is so big for us to reach the last man. So it's only through partnerships with the stakeholders that we can get this information reach the last man. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been very serious deliberations. How about if we give a round of applause to all our panelists? Let's give them a little bit of life. Let's give a round of applause to our panelists. Thank you so much. This is the kind of feedback we need to get back. and to ensure that there's continuity in what we're doing, especially on rural ICT.